You're scrolling because you're lonely. Maybe you read that and thought, hold on, I'm not lonely. Hold on, let me just see what he has to say in case I am lonely. Let me borrow your imagination for a second. Have you ever been on holiday, inside or outside of your country, and realised that throughout the period in which you was on holiday, you never used your phone once? You never felt the urge to check your social media, you didn't binge watch YouTube, and all of your bad technology habits seemed non-existent. Why? Because you was actively engaged in the life that was before you and the reality that was actually before your eyes. But then what usually happens? You return after holiday and you think, oh, I've got some momentum now, I'm feeling good and recharged after this holiday. All of the usage of technology which I steered clear from, I want to maintain this throughout my day-to-day life now. But what happens? A week after you return home from holiday, you sit there picking your nose, enacting the same bad habits you enacted before you went on holiday. So what's the difference? When I was 21 years old, I moved back in to my mum's house to stay with her for about a year, to find my feet again after travelling, and I found myself falling into every bad technological habit under the sun, as you could imagine what they are. And upon reflection, the one thing that was at the core of me engaging in bad habits was I wanted to escape myself at every opportunity I faced. I binge watched YouTube and I had these bad technological habits, and I would engage with technology until I was absolutely zapped from all of my dopamine stores. 7 hours throughout the day, especially on the weekends, because I had no idea of what to do or how to spend my time. And at the heart of it, I was lonely and I wanted to escape the feeling of being alone. It's like you walk past a mirror and you catch yourself in the mirror and you're like, oh my god, I exist. Yeah, that's what I was trying to avoid, because I had so many problems in front of me and I had so many open loops in my head that I just wasn't dealing with because I didn't know how to deal with them, that I saw the short-term relief of escaping my environment through a screen. Now, when you think back in the day evolutionarily, won't do that, sorry. When you think back in the day evolutionarily, because I'm interested in evolutionary psychology and I think it's good to look at these things from this lens because it explains a lot. There's an example I heard today on a podcast of, imagine two cavemen back in the day, okay, me and you, we go out on a hunt back in the day. And we're hunting for 3 hours, we're far away from the tribe, we're in the woods, and you spear an animal. And I watch you spear this animal, I try to spear an animal and I miss. So now you are higher in the social status game than myself in this moment in time in which you spear the animal. And I'm feeling a bit disgruntled with myself at my inability to provide for the tribe. And I think, why aren't I as good as you? And on our 2-hour walk home to the tribe, I have 2 hours to process that emotion internally within my thoughts, analysing the sensations which arise and how I can deal with them and how I can rationalise them in my brain. Whereas the equivalent nowadays, one, we wouldn't go hunting, we would do something trivial like play sports, like the kids over there. But I wouldn't allow myself now to internally restore the emotional discomfort I feel after a certain event has gone down. I would busy myself in my phone because I have that opportunity. All human behaviour is motivated by wanting to escape discomfort. It's incredibly understandable, right? Discomfort is a very tough feeling and it comes in many shapes and forms. It can come in the form of guilt, depression, anxiety, difficulty, decision fatigue, loneliness, lack of self-esteem, negative self-image. So nowadays, the difference is between now and our ancestors is we have multiple opportunities to drown our sorrows in external things. We now no longer have the opportunity, because we no longer see it as important, to restore ourselves internally. It's the main difference. Because when you allow yourself to restore internally, and what I mean is very simply just unplug from the screen, go for a walk, don't tune in, tune out, be unreachable, walk, write, journal, speak out loud to yourself, any of the mental health practices that you've cultivated. The reason why we don't do that is because we're terrified of what we might find. We're terrified of facing discomfort and realising I'm actually really lonely and I don't have a lot of friends, or I really don't like my life and I need to change something, or I'm really hurt with how I was spoken to 5 years ago from that person in my family member and I have no idea how to address that. I could go on forever. This person who said this to me in my childhood, as that voice stays with me forever. When I worked this job, the way these people treated me, I'm still carrying that with me now. I feel maybe you will come across the feeling that you are unworthy, or you feel you're not worthy of the success that you have deemed reachable in your mind. All of these things are what we stand to face if we just tune out. But utilising the backwards law, we can realise that when we tune into the discomfort and when we lean into it, when we feel the insecurity, when we feel the depression, and we liberate ourselves by giving ourselves the permission to actually feel the bad, I don't want to use the word bad or negative, but when we feel the uncomfortable emotion, we relinquish the power it has over us. All of our problems in life, it's very generalisable, but all of our problems in life come down to avoidance in one way or another. Procrastination, you're avoiding what you actually need to do. Loneliness, you're avoiding going out and approaching people and making friends and potentially getting rejected. Depression. Depression sometimes can be a consequence of continuous avoidance over the states that you're feeling. Over time, you continuously avoid your depression, therefore it grows and you feel more and more depressed because you're not listening to what it actually is trying to tell you, which is you don't like your life isn't worth living, there are things missing from it. In the most heartfelt way I can say this, there are needs which are unmet, which you're not meeting, and worse so, you're not going out to meet them, so you need to listen to what that depression and anxiety is trying to tell you. The worst thing, as my hat gets caught, I really understand why a lot of us avoid the emotions that we're feeling and the negative experiences that we've been through in life. I get it, it's uncomfortable. But I'm telling you now, note to my 19-year-old, 20-year-old self, right? There is no other way to relinquish the power that this force has over you than to face it. In the same way, archetypally, as the hero who slays the dragon is maximally attractive to all of the mates that he comes across. A lot of people within the self-development niche propose the idea of discipline and how it will solve all of your problems, and I fully stand behind that. But I think that we get narrowed sometimes into thinking that discipline is just working out, or discipline is just working every single day. Discipline can come in many forms. Discipline can be going to bed. Discipline can be getting off your phone and going to bed and journaling about whatever disturbs you at this moment in time and why. Discipline can be choosing to take a day off despite the fact that everyone would see that as weird and lazy, and you have these hustle ideas in your head of I should be working, I shouldn't allow myself to take the day off. Discipline can be taking a day off so you can just walk and talk to yourself out loud and really work through all of the things that you're dealing with. There's a brilliant quote I love. The goal is not to be cured, but to always keep one's ailments at hand. What that means is it's not about getting rid of the discomfort that you feel or that you face, or it's not necessarily about that, because discomfort will come back in every shape and form in your life. We don't just sweep the floor once, right? You have to clean your room once a week. You have to sweep the floor once a day because dust builds up. It's the same with our mental health. It's the same with our physical well-being, mental well-being, specifically what we're talking about here. You cut off one head of the hydra and another grows. It's because that is the continuous process of life. And I think a lot of problems can be solved when we just understand the nature of how things really work, which is why I created the video the other day, "You're not supposed to be happy." It was a bit tongue-in-cheek, and of course some people might have seen that as a bit out there, but when you understand that life and advancements and growth in life do not involve getting rid of oh, that was going to hit so well. Life and growth and advancement in life does not involve getting rid of problem. I can't say it. Let me go one more time, third time lucky. Life, advancements and growth in life does not involve the eradication of problems. It involves increasing the quality of your problems. You don't get to not have problems. Like, you don't get to not face discomfort in life. You have to learn how to deal with it. You have to learn how to surf the waves of your emotions. Otherwise, you will continuously search to relieve yourself from the discomfort you're feeling through scrolling, through being addicted to drugs, through going out and drinking and escaping the life that you're actually living. Now, at the core of this, it's building a life you're not trying to escape from, because the example that I gave at the beginning with the holiday, you're not escaping that life. Albeit maybe it's a week or 2 weeks in your life, so all of your dopamine and novelty is condensed into 2 weeks of your life, whereas if you lived that life for a year, 2, 3 years, you might get fed up. But build a life you're not trying to escape from. That's the goal. That is literally the be-all, end-all process of everything. That's how you stop wallowing in your loneliness and depression and letting it eat you alive. So you feel the need to scroll and replace real world activity and speaking to people in the real world with superficial pixels on a screen, which sometimes have a purpose, but most of the time it's negating your willingness to actually develop the skill of dealing with the discomfort. There's a book I have here, Stillness is the Key. What you're searching for is stillness. Now, I don't always like to say what you want. It's not for me to determine what you want or actually articulate what you want. That's up to you. But if there's one thing that's for sure about human beings, it's that we search for peace. We search for freedom and we search for stillness. Now, stillness is a constant. It's a constant state of being that you can always tap into. It's always there, in the same way as the clouds might occupy the sky, but the sky and the sun is always there. It's just we can't always see it. Stillness is when you operate from a place of fullness. Now, this is a book by Ryan Holiday, and I just want to read a little segment from the chapter Beware Escapism. This is the book where I got the idea, build a life you're not trying to escape from. But too often the frenzied or the miserable think that an escape, literal or chemical, is a positive good. Sure, the rush of travelling, the thrill of surfing, or the altered state of a psychedelic can relieve some of the tension that's built up in our lives. Maybe you get some pretty pictures out of it, and some pseudo-profundity that impresses your friends. But when that wears off, what's left? If true peace and clarity are what you seek in this life, and by the way, they are what you deserve, know that you will find them nearby and not far away. Stick fast, as Emerson said, turn into yourself, stand in place. Stand in front of the mirror, get to know your front porch. You were given one body when you were born. Don't try to be someone else, somewhere else. Get to know yourself. Build a life that you don't need to escape from. What he means by the travelling aspect, even though I gave it as an example at the beginning of this video, is you can bring ruins to ruins. You know, many times throughout my life I've travelled, and I'm always really cautious of the place in which I travel from. Because you can travel from a place of being disgruntled within your life, and therefore you go to this new place and it's all sunny and it's novelty, and after a week it wears off, right? Why? Because you've taken yourself with you. There's one message I'm giving throughout this video, is turn into yourself, and you will realise you don't need advice. You don't need counsel on what to do. You already have all of the answers within you, but you're disrupting the process in which those answers can come to you as to what to do with your life, or what you value, or what you actually want to spend time doing, You're destroying that process by avoiding yourself. You're not that bad. You'll realise you are much more capable at dealing with your emotions than you think. Whether you're a young woman listening to this, a young man, it doesn't matter. Like men, especially you guys, like us, we're told so often, you know, shun your emotions. And then what? You realise after a year you've got all this emotional baggage that you've been carrying. Why? Because you haven't actually dealt with your emotions. Still be stoic amongst that, but allow yourself time throughout the day to actually face yourself. It is tough because doing the opposite of checking your phone or lighting up a joint or swigging a bottle, they're seemingly easier. But when you flip the switch and you see that they're not, they're actually harder, because easy choice is hard life, hard choice is easy life, as the parable of discipline goes. Escaping yourself now will send shattering ripples throughout the course of your life, which will only become apparent to you 5-10 years down the line, when all of your regret seeps into one rippling thought of, shit, I wasted all of that time. When really, all you needed to do, it's not about a productivity thing, it's not about productivity, it's not about getting more done, it's about facing yourself. Because your whole life will be spent up here. So you might as well make it a good place to live. And you do that by getting to know your surroundings. Looking, like as he says, Ryan Holiday, get to know your front porch. If you're lonely, go speak to people. Oh man. I'm saying this because for the last week I've been scrolling a lot more and I've been feeling very disconnected from myself. And I was scrolling the other day, I was distracting myself because I've been finding work hard, and the process of going all in on something and feeling lonely within the process. And I was scrolling, and first time ever a thought came to my mind, and it was like, Lewis, what are you escaping from? Boom, answer came within seconds. I'm lonely. I felt lonely. I felt disconnected. I felt disconnected within myself. And it's not always a case of being lonely because you're not speaking to other people. This isn't a ploy for you to suddenly break out of your introversion and go and be the biggest extrovert ever and go and speak to loads of people. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is being lonely within yourself, because you can be in a social situation where there are thousands of people, there are hundreds of people, and maybe you know all of them, but you can still feel lonely within yourself. Why? Because you're disconnected from your source. And you've done so well to escape yourself, but yourself is always there waiting for you to return. And when you do return, it might not give you a warm welcome. It might throw all of the emotions and thoughts which you have been neglecting over the last months or years right at you, to the point where you're overwhelmed and you throw your hands up and you say, I don't know how to deal with all of this information, it's too much. Very well so, that might happen. But there's no escape. There's no getting out. If it takes you 6 months of introspection work to get through whatever you're going through, if you have to go to therapy, if you have to just learn how to sit with the discomfort better, then go all in on that. Forget about going all in on your project and your passion and your figuring out what you want to do with your life. It doesn't mean anything if you feel disconnected from yourself. I'm telling you now, like, I don't want to be one of those people on the internet who's like shitting on successful people. I would never want to do that, even though I've made videos before about, you know, you're watching too many successful people and that. But think about the reason why when someone becomes a millionaire or they actualize one of their desires that they want, why do they feel empty? It's because they've got a disconnect within themselves. Realistically speaking, when you meet someone with magnetic confidence, they're connected within themselves. They don't need other things. They don't need external things to fill them up, because they are filled within their source. So again, this isn't a ploy for you to go and suddenly speak to everyone and be an extrovert. It's not that at all. What it's about is getting to know your own inner fortress and who you are, and opening the closets within your mind, because you will, I'm telling you now, you'll realise they're not so bad. They're not so bad that you have to scroll and mindlessly distract yourself from them and light up the joint and go and speak to people, because speaking to people can be a way of neglecting your own thoughts. You know those people who are always involved in conversation and they always need to speak to people and they cannot not sit with themselves because they're terrified of what they might think. You will relinquish the power that this thing that you're avoiding has over you if you just sit with it and you say, okay, door's locked, here's the key, I'm not moving. I'll listen to whatever you have to say. Because your emotions want attention and your thoughts want attention. The archetypes within you want attention. And I'm telling you now, they will continue to grow and grow and grow with a festering resentment with each bit of attention you fail to pay them. Until one day you explode. I'm telling you, you don't want to get to that day. So tune out. Don't tune in. Garbage in, garbage out. It's hard because I know you're afraid of what you might face. But get off. Just unplug. Go for a walk and allow yourself to feel the absolute discomforting pangs of boredom, depression, anxiety, loneliness, sadness, despair, guilt, whatever you are feeling. Sit with it. Sit with it and learn how to surf. Because it is a life skill. You have to prioritise your mental health above absolutely everything else, because if you don't, all of the decisions and all the opportunities you take from that place will be wrought with destruction. Stillness. Not mindless escape.